Welcome to the Suffolk History Podcast. Join me, Ralph Cochrane, as we journey into the past, looking at the incredible history of this area, as well as talking to some of the people who help to keep our heritage alive. Join us as we uncover the history of Suffolk, one episode at a time. If you'd been in Suffolk 100 years ago, these animals behind me would have been scattered across every field, ploughing and furrowing, but now they're on the endangered list. So we've come to find out the history of the Suffolk Punch horse with expert Nigel Oakley.
The Suffolk, all the male line today can trace its ancestry back in a straight line to Chris Horse of Ufford of 1768. Right. So it's the oldest of the heavy horse breeds. The Suffolk stud book, the first Suffolk stud book was started in 1880, which apart from the thoroughbred is the oldest stud book in the world. So the Suffolk has got that sort of notoriety. Well, in my opinion, a lovely agriculture. They were bred particularly for agricultural work.
So their temperament is, they can be.
They're like my children. Their temperament's good when you encourage them to be. Right. But to be fair, they have got a lovely attitude. I've bred 52 foals and kept a stallion, and the stallions I've kept were in reasonable order. They are a funny sort of thing because they are a one-man horse. They don't take a lot of notice of anyone else, a stallion. They are really a one-man horse. But the Suffolk is always this colour, which is chestnut, spelt without the middle T. Uneducated Suffolk spelling, but there you go. Why it's not got the middle T, I'm not sure, but anyway, we were quite sort of.
And whilst we're at it, the name Punch means short, stout man.
Yeah, it's named after Puncharello in Punch and Judy, short and stocky. The Suffolk horse's height is made up through the body, not the legs. If you look at a Shire, a Suffolk stands on his pastern joint, the joint in the foot. It's quite flat. Yeah. When a horse walks, he puts his heel down, then his toe. And that horse, that breed of horse, was bred for agricultural work. I used to do Green King's deliveries in Bury, but they don't like trotting on heavy land. They break the feet up, whereas Shire has got a different action. That's why the London breweries use Shire. I've got nothing against Shires, I've kept Shires. But the Suffolk, if you look at him, his depth is through the heart. A horse pulls from the shoulder here, so his angle of draft, with him being short, his angle of draft is shallow to the ground, so when you're ploughing, he can put whole energy. That horse weighs about a tonne, 2,240 pounds or 1,000 kilos, whichever, and he can move 2.5 times his own weight on wheels. So they're a very powerful piece of kit. Now, as I say, they're always chestnut. There are 7 shades of chestnut, from dark liver to light mealy, but if they're not chestnut, they're certainly not Suffolk. They can have a bit of white on the face, but shouldn't have any white on the body at all. That would be derogatory and would be frowned upon. I'm a stallion inspector for the Suffolk Horse Society, and one of the main things is the mouth. They shouldn't be overshot, which we call parrot-mouthed, or undershot, which we call hog-mouthed or sow-mouthed. So, because a horse is a grazing animal, if it can't graze properly, it's a fault, and it's a genetic fault that will pass on. So if I look at a colt, a 2-year-old colt, for licensing for future stallion, then you wouldn't license a horse with a bad mouth, or indeed in movement and so on. But they should have enough room in front where if you're judging them, you wear a bowler hat, you should be able to pass your bowler hat between the legs. They shouldn't be over on the knees. They shouldn't spoon or dish when they walk. And the hock, the back joint, that joint there, shouldn't be capped, and they should move freely at the trot. The horse, that horse, or any Suffolk horse, was bred particularly for agricultural work, so his power is in his pulling ability. They say a horse pulls a plough and that, but in fact he walks in the collar, so in fact he's pushing the energy. I'll show you some harness afterwards, but the Suffolk horse, it's illegal to drive a horse on the highway until he's 4 years old. A lot of people don't realise that and break the law unnecessarily. And when you drive horses in this country, we drive what we call English coaching style, which is with all the reins, even a 4-horse team. That's why God give you all these fingers, particularly to drive a horse. It was for no other reason. And you have all your reins. You have your near side rein on the top, so if in traffic you can put this hand over and pull him into the curb, and you have your whip in that. The whip is there not to thrash the horse, but if you're driving a vehicle with a turntable at the front, if it jackknifes, the cart's going to go over. So the whip's there just to hit him on the flank, to keep him pulling forward and to keep him on the straight line. Obviously, you can touch him on the side if you want him to go a little faster, but you shouldn't hit a horse on the rump. He's likely to buck. So if you drive with a whip, you touch him on the flanks. The tail on the Suffolk should be presented high on the back. He shouldn't be what we call goose-backed. If you look at a Shire, they're a lot different in the stature of the back. And he should be what we call in Suffolk clunchy, close coupled. He shouldn't be like he's got a spare rib. He should be a compact horse, and his back legs should stand. Really, he shouldn't be wide hocked. And the feet, it takes approximately a year to grow from the coronet band. That's at the top of the fetlock joint there. The coronet band to the ground takes approximately a year. And the old saying was no foot, no horse. So it is essential to keep the feet in good order. We put iron flats on if we're working on the land, and it just to keep the feet in good order. They've got a good foot. This bone here is a good boy. That bone between the knee and the fetlock joint should be short in a cart horse, but with plenty of girth. And he should have good flat knees. He shouldn't have lumpy knees. They're good big knees, but flat. Yeah, old mate.
So give us a sense of, I mean, Suffolk Punch is iconic in Suffolk. I think partly because of the football club. It's on the Ipswich Town sort of logo. But when you were growing up, you would have seen these in the fields, presumably. How many were there?
I grew up in East Suffolk, in Oldham, a little village, and Sir Raymond Quilter, who was a large landowner in the area, worked the land with Suffolk horses. And when I was about 7, they used to come through the village at night from the fields to the stables. And I looked and I thought, someday I'm going to have some of those. Don't know why, just love the look of them. And then I civil engineer by profession, and I worked overseas a lot. And as soon as I got enough money and time available, I bought 2 mares, Cropwell Lings Ellen and Watfield Dorcas. And from them, I bred my own horses. I bred 52 foals, as I've just said. The gestation period of a mare is 11 months, whether it's a Shetland pony or a Suffolk horse, still 11 months. So you're lucky if you can get a foal every other year by the time it's weaned and so on. But yeah, I've bred my own stallions and so on. A Kepper stallion, they're, as I've said previously, a one-man horse, but very, very loyal. Captain was my last stallion, and he wouldn't let anyone else near me. If I went in a field, he would keep the other horses away or people away. He was so dedicated. I only lost him last year, unfortunately. He had a twisted gut and we had to put him down, unfortunately. But a lovely, lovely horse. Yeah.
You've got one behind you trying to get in on the interview, I think.
Yeah, this horse was bred by the Suffolk Punch Trust at Hoseley, and they sold him to the museum at Stowmarket, the Museum of Food, I think it calls itself now. And he didn't get on too well there. They said he was a bit awkward. but in fact he's been as good as a Christian to me, and I've worked him with this horse. I've had harness on him, and he's as good as gold. Zippo, his name, like the fag lighter. Yeah, yeah. And yeah, good boy.
When they were working horses, give us a sense of how many horses would you need on a farm? How much land could you plough in a day? Like, how did it work?
Well, as I said, when I worked the land, I had 17, but some of those were stallions that didn't work. Some were foals, some were yearlings. So I probably had 6 or so horses that were capable of work geldings, although I worked mares. To pull a single furrow plough, which is called a Yorkshire Light, you would need a pair of horses, a furrow horse and a land horse, and you can plough, they say, an acre a day. I've never managed to. I'm on heavy land here, boulder clay, and if you plough an acre, you and the horses walk 11 miles with a single furrow plough. That's why I'm so stealth-like.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but seriously.
Young as well.
Yeah, youngish. Yeah, youngish. No, but I used to cut the corn and everything with the horses, drill the corn with a horse drill, and cut the corn with a binder. I've done 5 country foal programs with Adam Henson, and I gave him a Suffolk mare, and he's now bred 3 foals, and also puts a lot on television promoting the horse, which has done us a lot of good. I've had Suffolks for 42 years, and when I first got mine, there were about 142, I think, and then now there are about 500. No, 242, because they've just about doubled in 40 years. There's just over 500.
But that sounds like a success story, but actually they're still on the endangered list, aren't they?
The Rare Breed Survival Trust, which monitors all the rare breeds of livestock, they're category 1, which categorises them as critically endangered. And they are in need of as much support as they can get. We are lucky now because there is a thing called sparks. When I first had horses, you had to keep a stallion to breed, but now there is frozen semen and embryo transfer, and now they can even sex semen. I had a gentleman from Barbados, which I broke in 3 horses for him, and he put 2 of his mares in with sex semen because he wanted to breed. And luckily enough, he did get 2 fillies. So it's I think about 95% success rate. But you know, to be truthful, keeping the genetic diversity is a serious problem with such a small numerically numbered herd, that it's easy to have inbreeding. You can do what line breeding, which is a different thing altogether, but if you start to get inbreeding, you start to develop faults, genetic faults, and then you're wasting your time. I mean, I have got, I think, 7 great-grandchildren last time we counted them, and I try and encourage them, because if we want to keep the horses for perpetuity for our grandchildren's children, which in my opinion is absolutely necessary, then we've got to get as much support from the public. Unfortunately, the rural population is quite small to what it was in my younger days, and a lot of the urban population don't appreciate how serious a situation some of the rare breeds are. Not just Suffolk horses, but cattle, pigs. I've kept all sorts, poultry, all of them, and it's part of our history, plus the fact that all of our commercial breeds originated from the original breeds, and if we had a catastrophe in one form or another, health-wise, for bovine disease, for cattle or whatever, then we've got to rebuild them from the scratch again. And if we lose the nucleus of what they were developed from originally, we're going to be in a muddle. So it's essential. Only pleasure, and what's wrong with pleasure anyway? You know, I love coming. I mean, I'm in bloody 80s, but I still enjoy coming and getting my Suffolks harnessed and go to work. I've got friends of the same age who come and help me every Wednesday, and we still do a bit of ploughing. And why not? You know.
Well, especially on a day like today.
Well, there you go. I mean, don't say it too quick in case it changes. But they are. Well, you can see these two. They are lovely. They're gentle. I mean, you go in there and mess about. Well, I've only just brought them up to the fields, but I'll have help tomorrow, and we'll groom them because I shall keep them in now, because not so much as they worry about the weather, but I'm on very heavy boulder clay, and they just destroy the field. Right. You know, they are a heavy old machine. And when the horse walks, he should put his back foot where his front one's just left, so he covers the ground. So when you're judging a horse, I'm a panel judge for the society. You don't want a horse going short, because obviously if you're ploughing or whatever, you want to be covering the ground. And these, well, lovely. As I said, I've kept Suffolks for 40 odd years, and I've ever had two that caused me a problem. And in those cases, it weren't the horse's fault. One had a brain tumour and one had a trapped nerve in its spine. So they were, apart from that, I've not had a problem in the temperament of the Suffolk horse at all. I've kept Shires, Percherons and Clydesdales. I went ploughing in Ireland with a pair of Suffolks, and I bought a Clydesdale in Ireland, and the Newmarket racing people brought it back over for me, and he was a lovely, lovely horse. And I let Banham Zoo have that horse, but he was tremendous. But I had a Shire sergeant who, when I had adults with learning difficulties here, the Millennium Farm Trust, he was ideal for them, because he had more intelligence than most of us. And I lost him 2 years ago, and he was 29, which is a fantastic age for a heavy horse.
I was going to ask you, how long do they live?
Well, to be honest, 17 or 18. They're getting Jasper, that one there's 19 now, and he's doing, touch wood, exceedingly well.
So Claire, I want to bring you in. I'll get you to stand next to Nigel. So why are you so fascinated with Nigel and also this horse?
Well, I think just because I'm a prison visitor at Hollesley, so I've been past the centre many times, and because I take my grandchildren there quite regularly, and I have 2 little miniature Shetland ponies, and the romance, and my husband's family bred Suffolks, and I know very little about them, but I think they are absolutely beautiful. And I was going to ask actually about riding, because I know some people are now sort of looking to the future, and could you ride them rather than plough them? I mean, how feasible is that?
Very feasible. There's two disciplines now that seem to be taking over. One is ridden, and the other is what I call a ladies' cart, a 2-wheel cart imported from America or Canada. And there's a lot of the younger people doing this, and I think it's because there isn't the cost. I mean, a brewery dray now would be something like £25,000 to buy, and then you've got £20,000 worth of pairs harness to put on the back of it, and it's out of the reach of some of the younger generation. So they can have a horse and ride it. And to be perfectly honest, I've had horses here to break in. I've probably broken in 200 or 300 horses in my time, and the last few have been to be ridden or to be on a light vehicle, what I call, I mean, a 2-wheel vehicle. Obviously men can drive it as well as ladies, but it nearly always ends up with ladies driving them. They're imported from America for about £4,500. So although it's, but that's reasonably inexpensive, and they look really, really well. And the Suffolks, in my opinion, it's going to change the conformation of the Suffolk, because you imagine riding that, you're going to make you a little bit squeaky. Yeah.
Yes.
So the ones I've had here recently have been a lot narrower, a lot lighter boned, which some people are saying, well, that's terrible because it's losing its identity. But it's ensuring they're here for perpetuity. I mean, to be truthful, I've got the old tractor in there and I've got the Suffolk horse. But youngsters are going to do what they enjoy doing. And the ridden classes now, all the county shows, I never thought I'd live long enough to see a class for ridden Suffolk horses, to be honest. But every show, you know, every county show, Suffolk, Norfolk, whatever, south of England, all have ridden classes. So it is a thing of the future. And if it keeps the Suffolk horse alive, why not?
So be it.
Yeah, so be it, yeah. I mean, I prefer this because that's what I was brought up with. But I've broken, as I say, for the gentleman from Bermuda who's now bought a little farm in Devon, and 2 of his horses were quite light in my opinion, but they were nice, good horses, and he is using them.
What do you think he'll use them for?
Well, the video things he sent me, CDs, whatever you call them, ridden mainly. Yeah.
Is there an interest abroad? Do people in Europe, are they taking?
I've had people here from France. In fact, I broke 3 in that went to France to work in vineyards. I used to, over near Stoke-on-Ayland, a family called Buntings. They were going to start a visitor centre, which didn't get planning approval, unfortunately. But I broke horses in for them. And they were going to do a lot, but unfortunately it never came to fruition.
So I know both of you are involved in the Suffolk horse from a trust point of view, from trying to keep the breed going and also involve families, prisoners. If people are watching this and they want to find out more, where can they go? It's towards Hoseley, I think you were saying. Woodbridge and beyond.
I mean, the Suffolk Horse Society are at RF Benwaters, and Belinda, the lady who goes to different venues, the sort of county shows and everything, and promotes them and does the passports and so on, because the horses all have to be microchipped now and passports. She's very, very informative. Or they go to the trust at Hoseley, but they're only about 5 miles apart. So Hoseley have got horses there.
Museum. Museum.
Yeah.
Shop, cafeteria.
Yeah, it's a lovely visitor centre. It's a really good venue. The Suffolk Horse Society is, they issue a magazine quarterly. It's responsible for monitoring all the horse movements and so on. But the trust have got live horses there and people of experience to show them to you. So, and like Lady Claire said, they've got a lovely cafeteria and visitor centre with a museum and so on. So it is set up for the general public.
You can easily spend half a day there. There's a lot to see, and they have special exhibitions. They put all the harnesses, plat them up.
Yeah.
They do a lot. I think Ipswich Town needs to. They do occasionally go and get paraded around Ipswich Town, but I think they could do that a bit more. But sadly, they close in the winter, so they're very busy between April and October, and then they have a quiet spell. So they do need quite a lot of support, because I can't remember the figure of looking after the horses, but it's quite steep, but reasonable.
Yeah. I mean, I've had it said to me that Suffolk horses live on almost nothing. Yeah, but they didn't say for how long. I've never found one that did. You can't fill a belly up that size with nothing. I'll admit they don't eat the short grub that a racehorse eats, because they're not using that sort of energy. But they still need short feed. I mean, they didn't get that size through fresh air.
So how much would a horse eat in a day, and what does it eat?
Well, that wheelbarrow there is haylage that I've cut on the farm, and they eat a bale of that about in 3 days. Those two. I would They're not.
Do you give them some hot mash as well? Do they get?
I give them the horse mix, equine mix, which is, I do a lot of it myself. When I cut the corn with the binder and the horses, I used to have a thrashing drum. So the wheat flight from the thrashing drum I used for the horses. You can't buy wheat flight now, so people have chaff, molly chaff and that sort of thing. But they are good doers, there's no doubt about that. And I'm sort of lucky. I'll grow a lot. I'll grow fodder beet and that sort of thing. And I've got the old-fashioned beet chopper just to chop it up for them. And they are.
How often does the vet have to come? Is that
I wish you hadn't mentioned that.
a nasty expense?
Well, we're very, very lucky here because we've got Rossdales in Newmarket who are equine vets, and Fred Barrelay, who was a senior post, he's now just retired, was my vet, and Fred was, well, magic to be honest. But I had a horse, Thomas, Milton Thomas, and I took him up to the Royal Highland Show at Edinburgh, and he wasn't well when we came home, and we spent a lot of money trying to find out what was wrong with him. His pedal bone came through the bottom of his foot, and it was a tick. He'd got Lyme's disease. He got bitten with a tick in Scotland, and a little thing like that killed a horse that size. And I spent £11,000 with Rossdales trying to save him, and then still had to put him down, bless him. And he was a fantastic horse. You could drive him, and you only had to think like go up a step, and he'd go up a step. He was such a. I won everywhere with him. It was lovely. I had a nice brewery dray at that time. I bought from Harrods actually.
So to any Ipswich Town fans watching, the logo's got the Suffolk Punch.
Yeah.
And obviously everybody knows they're called the Tractor Boys.
Yeah, I can't understand that, but there you go.
Suffolk Punch Boys, maybe not such a
Don't
good
roll off the
catchphrase.
tongue quite the same. Yeah.
You were talking as well before we came on camera. In the 60s, the numbers are really quite low.
Yeah, I think it was about 1968. There were only 6 foals born. You know, which is getting down to serious sort of states. We have at the moment about 80 breeding mares, because obviously some are fillies and some are past age of breeding, but about 80 odd breeding mares, and this year we had 42 live foals, I think. So that's quite good. It's keeping the numbers buoyant. And now we've got this spark sheet, which is green, amber and red. So if you breed, use a green stallion on your horse, he is compatible to your mare in genetics. And obviously you wouldn't want to use the red one because there is an excess number of that bloodline. So it's keeping the bloodlines diverse, which is the biggest problem at the moment. But we have got the technology now to manage that successfully. And people are, well, the majority anyway, of people are using the Sparks system. Our vice chairman is a lady called Gail Sprates, who was chairman of the Rare Breed Survival Trust. So she is very aware of what is necessary to make sure the rare breed stays buoyant.
Well, shall we have a look at some harnesses as well?
Yeah.
You tell us about the harnesses.
Do you want to check out the tractor?
Oh, the tractor. So yeah, tell us about the tractor. Let's have a wander over.
It's older than you, or you older than it?
I'm older than it, but I think I'm older than Methuselah.
And it's still working. Oh, look at other cats.
Yeah. They're all strays.
Are they? How many have you got?
3. This is it. It's a thing of immense beauty.
Ferguson.
Yeah.
There's the cat.
TD20 is a diesel. He's you can see the pigeons have decorated it.
And the turkeys are in there, fattening up for Christmas.
I think they were many Christmases ago.
They feed us, so they're quite demanding.
The harness for them is on a bench in there, because I harness them up a couple of times a week, but the majority of it is up in the barn.
So tell us about these pictures on the wall. That's you there,
Yeah,
driving.
yeah, that was a World War I reenactment, and that vehicle was actually at the Battle of the Somme. It was actually there. It was a munitions vehicle. It was a horrible thing to drive because there was no braking system. These here have got a hole in that rope. Soldiers used to put a rope on there and hold it back. So going downhill, it was a nightmare.
No brakes, basically.
No brakes. That was my breweries, Ray, with a pair on. That's the stallion I was talking about, that buried in the field, Captain. He's a lovely horse. And that's for where we've been working down the bottom, ploughing and that.
What's the picture above you there, the black and white picture?
That is the head horseman for Green King Brewery, and I did his funeral with a pair of Suffolks, and they gave me that as a memento. He was a lovely man.
I'm pretty certain in the Orford Museum archive, there's a picture from the 1977 Jubilee, Silver Jubilee, and I'm pretty certain there's Suffolks pulling people through Orford. I'll have to find the photo.
Yeah, have a look in my office. This is an education.
Who's this? Who's this?
I don't know, but I've got a friend, Bill, and I tell everybody it was him when he was younger. How about this then, eh?
Oh, all the memorabilia. Wow.
Oh, wow. Oh, that really is an Aladdin's cave.
That's driving a pair. Bill, that's Bill, the lad that helps me. That's driving a pair at one of the shows. I'm in all these magazines. That's why I've kept the magazines.
And you were saying Princess Anne is your patron?
Yeah.
And she breeds Suffolk Punches.
Oh, does she?
Yeah. In fact, her groom is coming on Sunday after the Suffolk Horse dinner to pick up some harness. I'll given her. That's Her Majesty the Queen. I won the Queen's Cup at the Norfolk show, and that is Dunmo Fitzbacon. Yeah. They used to give an award to people who hadn't argued for a year, and that's my son on there at 6. He's now 52. And I had this couple on the wagon to take, 'cause they do it over an anvil, and they were arguing like hell on the wagon, so I don't know how they got the award, but there you go.
Nobody heard them. When you were a boy, what did the fields look like? I mean, people talk about steam engines. When you were coming through Alderton, Orford, places like that, would you have seen the horses in the field?
Yeah. In fact, I can remember the horses cutting the corn at Alderton. Yeah.
So it would have been an integral part of village life, really.
Yeah, I mean, our milkmen and butcher and all that were horse-drawn. You know, and I've still got the ladles that my mother used to use for getting the milk out of the churn. Still got them somewhere.
And you'd have to look after the horses because your livelihood depended
on them. Yeah. I mean, all these bygones, I used to use a lot of them. I mean, that there, I made one for a friend. She did Hoy's Horse of the Year show, pulling harrows in the main ring, and the horses kept bumping and she had to pull out. And that's what that's for. You put that on the plough chains of the horse. When they knock one, that peg hits it, and within half an hour they stop bumping. I've broke loads of horses in that were a nuisance for that job. And that called a tuckle box, but I don't know anyone else has ever heard of it.
Tuckle box?
Tuckle box, yeah. And it was an old horseman 60 years ago gave me that. That's for carrying partridges on the chute. But it's... So
do you have many youngsters now coming to learn some of these?
I used to do a lot for the society to teach people to drive, but honestly, my old knees aren't up to it now, to be perfectly honest. I did a thing for a funeral. They wanted to do horse-drawn funerals, and the lady came to learn to drive. And I was on the cart for about 3 hours, and I had a job to get off it. My knees had, and I thought, it's about time you packed this up, Oakley. Well, it's supposed to be a Suffolk with my flight colours on, because you register your own colours. And the friend of mine, Bill Smith, who was cartoonist for the East Anglian, painted that and gave me, thinking I'd say, oh, I don't want that something thing. And in fact, I quite liked it, so I put it up, and it's really annoyed him. Yeah, he was going to take it away and turn it into a proper Suffolk. Yeah.
I mean, what do you think the future holds? You've said there are enough horses being bred, but it's not a very big population, a big gene pool. What are the things that need to happen, do you think, over the next 20 years?
I think we've got to make it known to the urban population. I think the majority of people who support the Suffolk horse live in the countryside and appreciate what the horse has done in the past. And I think if we want to keep it here for perpetuity and the youngster generation, we've got to take it to the population other than the rural population. I mean, the Suffolk show, when I used to take drays to the Suffolk show, there were probably 10 drays with the brewery people and everyone. Now, if there's 2, you're very lucky.